So I first discovered this game through I think it was either a tweet or some sort of video that I saw about the game of a squirrel just roaming around, and he had a gun pointing up to someone and it would steal his phone. But in this game, well, you're not really stealing a phone, instead you're stealing acorns, but you get the meaning. Squirrel with a gun, a most random game to ever exist, using the Unreal Engine. This was available on PC, a little bit later on consoles on the PS5 and Xbox Series. And to my surprise, the game doesn't take up much space as much as I thought it would, as it takes at least around like 3 gigs, like close to there, which is quite surprising considering that, you know, other Unreal games take a lot more space for whatever reason. But anyways, you play as a squirrel, and you're just roaming around and you discover a golden acorn, and now you're just going around collecting it. Then all of a sudden, you discover there are guns, and that's exactly what you'll be using. Let's just say this is a third-person collectathon shooting game, or whatever you can say. You go around these places and around the streets, and you collect golden acorns, solving some sort of puzzles as to how you get these acorns, or getting these acorns, and that's what you'll be doing. You'll also be getting some other things in the game, like costumes, accessories, and plenty more. So when it comes to like the whole squirrel stuff, really back in the early 2020s, when you know what hit, some people in the family started feeding the birds, but all of a sudden it wasn't enough, because the squirrels won the spotlight, and that's exactly what happened. So for this game, you can drive vehicles like a RC car or a jet ski, you can say, which are one of the prime examples. And this game also has like a bunch of costumes, as I mentioned. Like you can be a white squirrel, or maybe you want to be a red squirrel from like Conker's Bad Fur Day. In fact, there's even a sweater that actually resembles heavily like Conker Bad Fur Day, or just Conker in general, because a lot of people remember Conker as the squirrel from Bad Fur Day, but he actually was in a couple of other games besides that one. One of them was Kong Racing, and he had his own game on the Game Boy Color. So this is what you'll be doing, so you'll be going around trying to solve whichever puzzle you can just for a golden acorn. But there's also in-game money, which are regular acorns, but they're a lot smaller and they're easy for you to know what you're looking into. Now, depending on what costume you wear, the animation of your walking, or at least your running or whatever, it changes. Say that you're in a dress, and you could just run in your 2 little legs of yours. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. Also, these costumes aren't just decorations or anything, they even have their own attributes. For example, you have the bomb unit thing that you can wear that kind of protects you from explosions. And the other one is a diving suit, which helps you float and sink through underwater. And that's basically some of the examples I'll give you guys, as it's a short game for you guys to play, but there's a lot to do at the same time without, you know, anything. There are some bosses, not too much, but there are bosses for you guys to go against. Now, this being an Unreal Engine game, I did discover a little bit of frame stutters throughout my playthrough, but that was about it. Not too much, but a little. But one of my big complaints about this game is I sometimes feel like playing with the joystick in the game just feels a little, I don't know if it's floaty or slippery. It might be floaty, because it wasn't slippery or nothing. It had to be more about floaty. And I say that for certain situations, but sometimes the camera has a mind of its own in certain situations whenever I'm trying to figure out how to get an acorn or whatever. But at the same time, the game just, I don't know, it just becomes unclear as to how I'm supposed to get the golden acorns at certain situations. Now, there are these flagpoles that you can pretty much climb on and see what you probably missed throughout these places, like a photo filter, which you can also get, but it can also tell you where the costumes are or some sort of idea as to how you get these golden acorns. And with the title, they do give you some sort of hint, but it gives you a little bit of time to figure it out. And sometimes it's just unclear as to what these puzzles are. Like, for example, there was this pole dancing mini game, and I couldn't even really figure it out until someone brought it up that you're supposed to mimic what the people in the game were doing. So that kind of left me off guard a little bit and confused. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know? And it's just like that. It's just, sometimes these things are so unclear. At least Nintendo's own Mario games gives you somewhat of a hint as to where they are or how you get them. But this one doesn't really have that hint type of stuff in there for some reason. I mean, even a Banjo with no hints, I was still able to figure out pretty easily. But this one is just makes things unclear. It's not to say that it's a bad game. It's a game that you shouldn't really take seriously, unlike some critics, which I saw IGN give the game a 5 out of 10 for whatever reason being. I mean, they can go play a new Call of Duty for all I care, or maybe a new Madden game that would be simping on, because they have nothing else to do. But despite all that, there is a physical copy of the game you guys can also get for those who want a physical format. You guys can get these on Best Buy, GameStop, or whatever, but I went to go try to get one myself. Nobody seemed to have it, so I had to get it online. But don't worry, this game isn't expensive or anything. The game ranges around like $20 to $30. And for that price, there is a good reason for that. It's because the game is short. I mean, it kind of feels like it's more of a simulation Squirrel game, but also just a more funny, arcadey-like stuff, because you're doing things that squirrels really shouldn't be doing in real life, like holding a gun and trying to kill a million people, which is funny. But speaking of photos that I was talking about, in order to unlock photo mode, you're gonna need someone to take a picture of you with their smartphone. After that, then you can have your photo mode, and you can basically do whatever it is that you want. But finding the photo filters is easier said than done. They're in the most random places that you probably had no idea where they're pretty much at. And I hardly even had any of the photo filters because I had no idea that they even existed throughout that game. Now I know this game might seem a little off-putting to some of you guys because I'm pretty sure these guys must be new to the whole Unreal Engine or gaming in general. But it wasn't that the game is being taken seriously. Don't get me wrong on the whole issue with the not so perfect thing. Not these games have to be perfect, but they have to be playable. It's the main key. Because if it's not playable, then, well, we can't really talk about these games, can we? But yeah, for the game itself, it's just a funny little collectathon thing, and you can basically mess around and do whatever. Find some wacky stuff, interact with some people, and make sure you collect enough acorns so you can progress through the game. And I'm not talking about the golden acorns. I'm also talking about the regular acorns, because they do require in some situations. So if you just want more of another goat-like simulator game, or maybe some sort of goofy animal game that you probably play, like a deer game, or maybe dog, cat, whatever else games, then definitely give this game a try out if you really want to. Because I think it just might be the funniest game you probably will play. But that's basically it. It's just simple. It's just supposed to be a funny game, not to take seriously. So, that's all I'll be saying. So, if you guys want to be the biggest squirrel that you can ever be, then by all means, give this one a worthy shot.